Hello and welcome. Oh, it's finally time to do the third quarter palette roundup for July, August, September, all the palettes that I tried during those months, or at least had more time to review. So if you like that kind of content, then stay tuned. Hello, my friends. New or returning, thank you so much for being here. If you've been waiting, anticipating my third quarter palette roundup, it's finally here. It took a moment. Oh my gosh, there were just so many palettes that I was like, okay, how do I even rank these? Like, there weren't even any like horrible palettes that I could just be like, oh yeah, that's just, worst, or you know what I mean? There were like so many palettes that are like high up. So this was really hard. Yeah, so there's quite a few palettes here. So I think I counted maybe 65 total. So, oh my goodness. If you like this kind of content though, please make sure you give it a thumbs up. That does really help my content. Subscribe down below if you're not already. Turn on all notifications. Otherwise, let's just get right into this because there's a lot of palettes to go over. All right, hello. So at the very bottom here, and again, none of these palettes were really bad. It's just I had to rank them somehow, and there's so many that were just so good. I really had to think of like how I was going to rank this. So at the very bottom, number 65, and again, I'm just going to put the numbers in because it's going to be really hard for me to remember. We have Profusion Jurassic World. Now, what got me is nostalgia again. Yeah. My son is really, or was really into dinosaurs growing up, and so he loved Jurassic Park. Yeah, so anyways, but yeah, so this is a very large palette. I think it says it has 38 shades in total, 5 of them being pressed glitters, which are all in here. Part of the reason that this was, this was at the bottom of the list for me. The formula wasn't like bad, but I don't do glitters, and especially not that kind of glitter. Yeah, so this unfortunately was number 65 for me. So not horrible formula, but just wasn't the best. We have coming, the next 3 spots are the Morphe 2 palettes. We have, and these are order of like least to least favorite to most favorite of these. So Palm Springs, and again, not that it's bad, but it's just not a color story I'm going to reach for, and I have so many other greens that I would reach in golds that I would reach for before that. We have the Malibu, which is a more like warm tone neutral, and then probably my favorite of these 3 would be the From Hawaii with Love. A little bit more of your mauve pinky tones. Again, not that they're horrible, but again, they just can't beat these other ones at the top here. So coming in next spot is Violet Voss. This is the I Rest You palette. The reason that this is lower is that color story. It's just very warm tone, very specific, and just a lot of repetitive shades. Like, we didn't need this many of this color story. So that is the reason that is next on my list. Not horrible formula, but just a color story I'm not going to reach for. Coming in at number 60, we have the Domini Cosmetics Transition Palette. Again, I tried to work with this some more, and I just found the same thing. It's just very dry, and these darker colors are very patchy. I just wasn't really impressed with the formula. So unfortunately, there are other palettes I like from Domini Cosmetics, but that's probably my least favorite of all theirs. Next, we have ColourPop High School Musical, the East High palette. Not a bad formula. It's actually not a bad palette. It's just not a color story I'm going to reach for. So that's why it's so low on the list. Next coming in, we have Sephora. This is the I Love Bloom palette. It's cute. It's not a bad formula, but it's just such a light color story that, again, just not one I'm going to reach in for that much, but not a bad formula. Next, we have Guerlain. Ugh, I'm so mad at myself for even buying this. It's the Ombre G color story in Imperial Moon. Sorry, that was really bright. I don't know if you can even see it there, but it's just, for 90 bucks, I have a whole lot of other quads, even from ColourPop, that I would choose over this. These 2 colors here, when you put them on the lid, they almost look the same. And then literally you just have this one shadow, which the color looked different online. I don't know what to say, but I was not impressed. For 90 bucks, I would have way chosen something else before I chose that, had I known. So that'll probably be the only one I ever have from them. Next, we have Jason Wu. This is the Flora Euphoria palette. It's not a bad palette per se, but I definitely prefer his mattes over his shimmer shades. And these are probably a little bit more like topper shades, but there's just nothing that really wowed me about this palette. It was okay. Next, we have Tarte Man-Eater. This is the Vanity palette that I bought recently. Reason this is so low, the formula is okay. It's just, there's only so much you can do with this. And then I just would have liked like even number of mattes and shimmers would have made this palette better for me. So I don't know. It's okay, not horrible, but not my favorite palette. Next we have Tarte Man-Eater. This is the After Dark palette. I did talk about this before, so I won't go into too much detail, but it looks pretty in here, and I'm glad they did something other than just their, you know, pink tones that they always do. But the formula just wasn't the best. When I got it on my eyes, it just looked dull. It didn't, the shimmers didn't look anything like what they look on here as far as like that intensity, I guess, is what it just didn't hit the mark for me. So. All right, next we have some Sephora Pocket palettes. I have in order of least to, you know, best for these. We have this one in Warm Dusk. And again, that's just the color story I'm going to reach for the least. We have this one in Golden Hour, if I can get it to come out. Again, just very warm toned. Would be nice for this time of year, but it's just not a color story that I'm like inclined to reach for. This one, the Mauves. That one I like better, definitely something I would reach for more. And then just out of all of this pile of them, this warm brown tones, probably just had the color story that I could work with the most with the shimmers and that kind of thing. So probably my favorite of those, just those. Next we have Violet Voss, the Golden Sunflower palette. It's okay, but again, just a very warm toned look. Formula's okay, but just again, just not what I'm gonna reach for over these other ones I have. Next we have Dose of Colors, Golden Hour. Not a bad palette, but again, just a very specific color story. And again, some of these warmer tones I just don't reach for as much. So that's my fault. I mean, nothing against the palette, but I already know that. So I don't know why I keep buying those color stories, you know? Next we have Glossier Trio in Almond. Not a bad palette again, but it's just, I can't get much of a look out of this. I'm not somebody who's going to do just a simple one color look. I like dimension to my looks, so, and I'm learning that more and more about myself. That's why that 6 to 9 pan, even maybe 12 pan palettes are kind of like my sweet spot. I can get enough of a, you know, difference and get a couple of different looks out of it. I mean, I can only get one look out of that. I mean, that's all, you know. So yeah, I know that, but I keep getting these other palettes for whatever reason. Now I do like quads, so the next one is ColourPop. I have some of their quads that I recently got. We've got Really Ruby, which the hinge is broken on that one, but we've got that one. We've got Acai You, baby. That's pretty. And then my favorite out of these ones is Gata Agate, or Gata Agate. I don't know how you're supposed to say that, but anyways, it looks like Gata Agate if I go by what it looks like. But those are next. All right, I think we're up to number 43, and at the 43 spot is Aether Beauty. This is the Rose Quartz Quad. Actually, pretty nice. I wasn't sure. I think Rms Beauty talk about this one, or she had heard that this one wasn't as good as the other one, but I thought it was actually pretty good. Now again, it's just, I mean, you're only going to get one specific look out of it. So, and the one that I rated a little bit higher was the Citrine Quad by Aether Beauty. So I know she talks a lot about that one. It's really pretty, but again, with a lot of these, I'm only going to be able to get one look, so that's why it's a little bit lower. Next, we have some more of the Sephora Pocket palettes. I have the two out of that group that I would definitely reach for the most. We have Noon Lights, very pretty, and then we have First Lights, which I think is my favorite out of that group. I think the tones on that was really, really pretty. Next, we have Urban Decay. This is that mini, it is the Naked Sin palette. Again, just a very light color story, and I feel like you're only going to be able to get so much out of that. And I don't know, Urban Decay, I'm just finding their quality is just not like up there with some of the other ones. So I don't know. I'm just finding that they're not my favorite, you know, brand overall for eyeshadows. Next, we have some Moira Beauty eyeshadow palettes that I've got more recently. Probably my least favorite of these three is the Little Stars palette. Nothing wrong with it. It's actually a nice palette, but again, a little bit more warmer tones. So I just find these other two I reach for more. Next, we have the Wineberry palette, which I think is really, really pretty. I love this shade right here. It's so, so pretty. And then we have my favorite of these is Sugar Delight. Now this one has the least amount of shimmers in it, but that color story just really speaks to me. And actually when I wore it last, I mixed these two together and it worked really, really well. So that's next. I have Patrick Starr's One Size brand, the Visionary palette. I hesitated for a very long time to get this palette, and I was actually very surprised, very pleasantly surprised. I got it on sale, and I've done like maybe 3 looks with this palette, and I really like it. I think it has nice quality. The greens in here are really nice. I mean, I'm kind of like I feel bad. I feel like it's gotten a bad rap, but I think it's actually a pretty nice palette. One I had to think about a little bit further and actually moved it a little bit in my list here is the Too Faced Born This Way Sunset Stripped palette. This was that Allie Glines made me buy. I still like the nude one over this one, but it's actually not bad. It's not a bad palette. I just don't find myself reaching for it. I've just got so many other neutral palettes that I probably reached for before this. But it's not a bad formula. It's not a bad palette. Next we have RMS Beauty. This is the Forever eyeshadow quad I talked about before. Actually a really nice formula for like satin shades. They're all like satin shades. It has a really, really nice creamy formula. So actually really impressed with that palette. Next we have NYX, the Ultimate Queen Edit, I guess is what it's called. So it's like a mini version of the Ultimate Queen palette. It's actually a nice little palette, so not bad. The only thing for me is it is definitely more matte heavy. I would like to see like another shimmer or something, you know what I mean, to balance it out a little bit, but not bad. And then next to that one, we have the NYX Ultimate Queen palette. And that one's actually, I was surprised. I forget somebody talk about it. It might have been Jessica Braun, I can't remember exactly, but somebody had talked about this and I was like, oh, let me check it out. Or Andrea Mattiliano, maybe? Andrea Mattiliano? I don't know. Anyways, but somebody got me to buy that and it's actually not a bad palette. Now above that is the J-Cat Dia palette. So they have the Dia and the Noche. I've already talked about the Noche. I bought that one first, but I did buy the Dia as well. Actually a really nice formula. This really surprised me. The only reason it's a little bit lower is it's definitely bright and more vibrant than I would typically reach for, so it's a little bit further down on my list. Next we have Linda Hallberg. We have the new Golden 20s palette. I picked up this and the Shimmer Saga Quad and I mean it was okay. I mean it's a basic neutral palette, but I definitely wouldn't reach out for this over some of my other palettes, so that's why it's a little bit further down, but not bad quality. Next we have Dose of Colors, the Truffle palette. This is actually a nice little palette. I love the color tones in here. I made a couple of looks with this. Now they ended up looking pretty similar because again there's only two. That's the only thing I wish. It only has two shimmer shades or you know metallics, whatever, and I wish it had like maybe at least one more because it's very matte heavy, so it's just hard for me to really make you know much of a different look when the shimmers are so similar. So you know there's only two of them, so but that's why it's a little further down, but it's actually a nice little palette. Next we have Violet Voss. This one surprised me, the Rose Party. I bought this actually on sale. It's originally $18. I got it for like $9, but this actually I made a look with it and I was like, oh, that's really pretty. Actually a really pretty palette, so I was definitely surprised with that one. Next we have Tarte, the Tartelette Jewel palette. This is a Lauren May Beauty Made Me Buy. It's a cute little palette. I do like it. And these shimmer shades are actually really, really nice. Especially this one here, this Brilliant color. I think, yeah, Brilliant. That one's really pretty. I really like that one. But yeah, I think it's a nice little formula, nice little palette. This next one surprised me. KVD Beauty is the Planet Fanatic palette. I was like, oh, why didn't this get more hype? Like these shadows I think are so, so pretty. I was really highly impressed with these. So yeah, so I'm definitely gonna have to dig this out a little bit more and use it. It's really, really pretty. All right guys, we're on the top 25 palettes. So here we go. So next we have a bunch of these Rowan quads, and sorry, they kind of got mixed up here, so give me a second, I have to put them back in order. All right, so my least favorite is this Gold Lust one, and more so just a color story. Just not one I'm going to reach into as much. Next we have the 75 Warm, same thing. Actually I think 75 Warm is actually probably least favorite and then Gold Lust. But again, just a color story I'm not going to reach into as much. I think the two first ones I got, I should have just stuck with those because those are ones that I really, really like. And I would definitely reach for more. So next is Eyes on Me. That one's really, really pretty. And some of these have like that cream, like more of a cream shadow. And some of them have more like the flaky or like metallic shades in them, but it's kind of a mix. And then I think one of them, I think I already showed you, had like actually a powder shadow in with it too as well. So, and then this one out of these ones that I bought, now it's not my favorite of all of them, is the Mood Forever out of these four. But the Cool Tone one, and there's 1111, I think those are actually my two favorites. But they're actually nice, a really nice formula. So if you're into more cream shadows, I would definitely check them out. Really nice. Next we have the Linda Hallberg Shimmer Saga palette. This one's really, really pretty. And sorry I'm not doing any swatches or anything. If I have a chance to throw any in, I will. But I'm just trying to make this as quick as possible. Otherwise this video would be forever. So, but yeah, a really, really nice little like topper shade quad. And I bought the eye pencils. They had a white one and a black one that you can either, you know, to change the whole dimension, the whole, you know, look of your eyeshadow look. And they're actually really, really cool. So I'm still trying to play with those a little bit more, but I've been using those on like a top of of other looks and really, really impressed. Next, we have LA Girl Sun Kissed Glow palette. I've talked about this one a lot. It's in my summer to fall eyeshadow inspiration palette video. Check that out. Really, really pretty. Now, the reason this one's a little bit lower is just because there's so many shadows in here. I just like a little bit more condensed palette. So, and then above that, again, just because it is more condensed, is the LA Girl. This is the Pro Neutrals palette. And I think this was in my summer to fall palette inspiration as well. But really, really, really pretty. Love these. I think LA Girl has a really nice formula, and I think they're just really underrated. I really like them. BH Cosmetics used to be as well, but you know, I don't know what's going on with them, so I'm so sad. Anyways, next we have a couple of Ulta palettes, which I was really surprised. This was definitely a Jessica Braun made me buy. We have the Blushing Blooms. It's so pretty. So if you're really into like those mauve tones, more pink tones, I think you would really love this palette. Now, my favorite, again, just because it's more neutral, is the Everyday Faves. This palette is so nice. It really, really surprised me. These, you know, shimmer satin shades, whatever they are so creamy and nice, blend really nice. The mattes are nice too. They work really, really well. So I was definitely impressed with that. Next, we have Wayne Goss. This is the Smoky Quartz palette. The only reason this is a little bit lower is literally you have a bunch of mattes and like only one shimmer shade, like, you know, metallic type shade. And I think this is more of like a satin shade. But yeah, it's just, there's not enough versatility. I mean, I like his formula, but there's just not enough versatility in his palettes for the most part. So that's why it's a little bit lower. Next, we have ColourPop Clay It Cool. I'm telling you, these palettes like this that have this one cream shade in it, these are really, really nice palettes. And I think they really can contend with some of these other brands. So this is definitely one of my favorite ColourPop palettes. So really, really recommend that. All right, we're up to number 13 now. These were really hard. These were really hard to like sort through and decide what was, you know, up there. But next we have Pat McGrath. This is the Mini Midnight Voyage palette. The reason this is a little bit lower is just they're all repeating shades other than one, but I love the formula. I love the compact nature of the palette. It went on vacation with me, used it, it's beautiful, but other than just the fact it's repeating shades, that's the only reason it's a little bit lower. Next, we have Natasha Denona. This is the Mini Bronze palette. Nice formula, really nice palette, but again, the only reason it's a little bit lower is it's only got one shimmer. I would have at least liked to see like two shimmer shades, so at least you had a little bit of variation. So if you're somebody that really likes mattes and you like a more warm toned, it's a gorgeous little palette and gorgeous formula. I mean, great formula. You can't go wrong with it, but again, that's why it's a little bit lower for me. Next, we have Simply Posh Fairytale Fairies palette. So pretty. I'm actually right now wearing this shade right here all over my lid. I like topped it over another look I did that I was not impressed with. So this color saved the day. So I love Simply Posh. I definitely recommend. They have another palette coming out soon, I think. If it hasn't already come out, I have to take a look. But definitely recommend you check them out. I really love their brand. Their palettes so far have been like top notch. Love them. So. Next, we have some Sydney Grace palettes. Love Sydney Grace, you know how I feel about them. But first one up here, which would be the least out of the three, is Coffee Talk Deep. And that's the only reason it's lower is because they are just like deeper shades, but love the metallics. They're just gorgeous. Oh my gosh, love Sydney Grace. Next, we have Where the Wild Things Grow. I think this palette is so pretty. And this shade down here, this like light green metallic, is gorgeous. That thing has some high shine. It is like oomph, like oof. Goodness in your face. And then California Coast. I got this one in the light version as well. Such like pretty like pinky tones there. Oh my gosh, so pretty. So pretty. Next we have Sugar Drizzle, the Sugar Dreams palette. Talk about some beautiful metallic, you know, some shifty shades in here. Gorgeous. Oh, I love this brand, and the palettes I've bought so far really have enjoyed as well. So highly recommend those. Next, we have Glaminatrix, which is another indie brand, the Nocturnal Palette. So pretty. And the only reason it's a little bit lower on my list too, again, is just the color story. It's, you know, I'm trying to get like out of, you know, get out of my comfort zone and try some different stuff, but this is definitely a color story that I'm not going to reach for as much over some of this other stuff. So that's why it's lower. Great quality though. Lunar Beauty, the Nude Prism palette. I almost didn't buy this one. I bought it a little bit later, got it on sale. So pretty. These metallics in the center there are just gorgeous. And then the mattes are really nice, blend really well. A great palette for like your neutral lover with a little bit of pop, you know. Next we have BellaBeauteBar, the Burn Book, the Unoriginal Nudes. beautiful. This palette is just gorgeous. Got this one on sale too, and highly recommend. I definitely want to try some more things out from that brand. So far, definitely impressed. Another indie brand. I'm telling you, a lot of these at the top are indie brands. I'm telling y'all, got to check them out. Check these indie brands out. Sorry, this palette's just dirty. Whew. We got Blend Bunny Cosmetics, the Dollhouse palette. Gorgeous. Oh my gosh. Oh, the only thing though is just so many colors. I wish they would come out with a small, more curated palette. If they would, I would be all over that. Now my friend Smithy Sony. Hi Smithy, if you see this here on YouTube, check her out, Smithy Sony, her channel. That's what it's called, so look her up. I'll link her below if I can remember. I'm really bad about that, sorry. But yeah, she got the Primal palette, was telling me all about it. I'm like, oh, I passed that one up because I thought it was just too colorful, like but she says she uses all those colors. They're like all your like prime colors, you know, like, you know, reds, orange, yellow, blue, purple, you know, like, but it's such a pretty palette. So I saw some of the swatches, I was like, oh my gosh. So yeah, I definitely want to check that palette out. But anyways, I think that was number 3. So if that tells you anything. Number 2, Pat McGrath, Mothership 10. This one is, if it says on here, Moonlit Seduction. How to remember? I'm like, gosh, I don't remember the name of it. So this is number 2. Beautiful palette, beautiful formula. You know, I just love Pat McGrath. Her formula is just superb. And her Celestial Nirvana palette will be in the next roundup. So that came out later, so it's not in this one. Number 1, you ready? You ready? You could only guess, as much as I've talked about this palette lately, Glaminatrix Nearly Natural. Oh my gosh, if I could recommend any palette out of this whole bunch, I highly recommend this palette. It is gorgeous. These metallics are just amazing, insane. It's like neutral, but it still has some like pops. Like it's not just like a boring same color neutral. Oh, like this greenish shade here is so pretty that you've got your like mauve tone here. These metallics are just insane. They're beautiful, gorgeous. Talk about high shine, intense metallics. They are beautiful. So that is number 1 all the way. So yeah, so I hope you enjoyed that. Again, it was a very quick rundown. I had to get through this without it taking, you know, forever. So if I remember, if I can, I'll try to at least insert, you know, some swatches here and there that I took, some makeup looks that I did with some of these. I'll try to remember to throw those in there real quick, but you know, yeah. Anyways, let me know what you think about any of these palettes down below. Do you have any of these? Do you have your eye on any of these now? Let me know. Otherwise, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe down below. Turn on all notifications if you're not already subscribed. Otherwise, have an amazing day, and I do hope to see you in my next video. Bye. That I really like had 30. Yeah, 5 of them being multi-finish, coming in at numbers. I love you. Oh, with a lot of these, I'm only going to be able, okay, and a drink. Whew. I'm realizing how hungry I am. Ugh, it's sticking to my lips. Is my hair sticking to my lips? Okay. This is definitely Vite. Next, we have a few ColourPop. Wait, hold on. Let me take the sleeve off again. I don't know why I thought I took the sleeves off, but these metallics in the center there are gorgeous. If you did enjoy this content though, you know, let me know what you think. All right. Whew, man, that was like a showdown, speed review, rundown. At its finest. Oh, I'm so hungry. I gotta go get something to eat. Okay, see you guys next time, bye.